So I'd like to introduce Jay. Jay's the creative director for Wraith Games.
That I am.
An award-winning indie collective or game collective from Hamilton, Ohio. And their current project, Collapsus, has been featured on, how do you say it, SAAM Arcade?
I've been pronouncing it SAAM. They probably have some sort of style guide for that, but I don't know what it would be.
But that's the Smithsonian Arcade thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've been to PAX East, the MEBABOOTH, Game Masters, the exhibition, and many others. So it's gonna be a great, got a lot of experience to bring and a lot to share. So excited to have Jay here. Thanks.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right, go for it.
So I'd like to start off by saying I'm in an incredibly fortunate position in my life and with my team that we do about 15 events a year. And we've been doing that for about the last 5 years now, I want to say. Our studio has kind of been around since 2005, but not really in a make anything cohesive sort of way. It was just like really small experimental art games and prototypes and just weird stuff. So the thing that was really cool for us is back in 2010, we went to our first event ever. And I gotta say, it was an absolute nightmare. We had just a white table in an artist's alley in a convention that had never had a game developer at all ever. And so they put out this white table, and we had one single laptop, and we were smart enough to bring a clipboard so that people could write their feedback about the game. And I'm pretty sure, having gone to many student showcases and having gone to many conventions where it's someone's first time, that a lot of people really start out that way, where it's, oh, we have these very limited resources and we have this limited space, and even if we had more resources, we don't know what to do with it. Well, 2010 passes, 2011 comes, and we go back to the same convention, but we don't even have a booth there. We're just doing panels and everything. 2013 passes for our next event, and then we don't do an event at all again until 2015, when we go to OGDE. Now, OGDE, which besides sounding like the most prim and proper sports program, I suppose, that was actually the first couple years of the event that would be known as GDEX, or GDEX if you're me. Which is an event in Columbus, Ohio. Some of you've probably already been. It's a pretty awesome show. And back then, they were too a lot smaller. Well, that was pretty cool because we were like, okay, we have to up our game. We have to have the most professional booth possible. And what that consisted of is the exact same laptop, which is actually the laptop that I'm speaking to you on right now. You can tell because the DPI of this camera is the same as a cross-stitch pattern. And by that, I mean I am a pixelated nightmare. I'm not really used to the whole web thing, so please bear with me. But we took a laptop, we took a little 24-inch, I want to say, maybe it's 32-inch, television with us. We had 2 tablets of different sizes, 1 phone, and then we decided to fan out our business cards all over this other right side of the table, this empty space. It was one of the worst things that I've ever seen. But yet, people came to the booth anyway. So with a gaming show, you will still get traffic, even if you don't really have the best booth setup. You know, you can basically be a white tablecloth with a small computer and people will still come to your booth. However, that isn't most people's goal when going to an event. Most people's goal when going to an event is getting as many hands on this as possible, which is an absolutely terrifying concept right now, because many hands all over your stuff. Yeah, that's a thing. And I will preface this by saying it is entirely possible that all events are canceled forever now, and my talk will go down in history as being the last talk about events. And if that happens, please bury me with this on VHS. So the thing is, though, that if you go to these events, what you're trying to do is trying to get your game into the hands of people who will actually play it. Now, there's several ways to do that. Like, and keep in mind, I want to stress that it's get your game into the hands of people who want to play it. There's this idea that your game has to have some sort of really, really broad appeal. That's not true. We live in a wonderful, wonderful market where everything is more niche, everything is more tailored to individual communities of people. You can make something crazy and out there and experimental and still get the people who really want to engage with it at your booth setups. And what that what that is by making a booth setup that is evocative of what you're doing. That is one of the things that we're going to be tackling here. We're going to be talking about how to build a booth that shows off your game in a professional manner, that shows off what you want to show off about the game. And then we're also going to be talking about how to build your booth in a way that keeps costs down and that also keeps travel down, because booths are big and heavy and awful. And most of the time you see these big conventions, you'll have these big companies going to them. What they'll do is they'll crate everything up and they'll ship it out ahead of time and they'll fly out and everything. We drive to everything we do. So we have a little bit of experience about cramming everything in the back of a Jeep. So building a booth. Well, you got to ask yourself, what is your game? What are you trying to do? Now, there are definitely some staples to the booth setup. Now, obviously, I'm not doing anything as cool as Amanda does. I don't have the 1,000-button project. So what I'm going to be talking about is more in the lines of a traditional video game. But at the same time, you can adapt all of these ideas into literally whatever you're doing, because there are a few staples that you're going to want to present. Now, the first one is a tablecloth. And the tablecloth is kind of a weird thing. I go to so many events where people just have kind of the black frill and they don't do anything with it. A nice branded tablecloth, for some people, is the first thing that they're going to see when they come look at your booth. Now, most events, when you order a booth, depending on the size, the standard size of a booth is 10 by 10 for at least most events. The booth comes with a table, 2 chairs, and then usually doesn't come with electric or internet. That right there is going to kill you. Just the whole, oh, we're gonna charge you an arm and a leg for internet thing, but we'll get to that. Thing is that a branded tablecloth is like, okay, I see this, I know what I'm engaging with. Now, branded tablecloth is probably going to run you about $80. There are definitely ways to do it cheaper, though. There are tons of online printing sources and even your own local print shops, and go there on a day where it's cheaper. It's unfortunately one of those products that sales are the only way to make it cheaper. It's a lot harder to sort of do your own thing with. Now, the thing is that a branded tablecloth, that's step one. You're probably also then going to want a banner of some sort. Now, there are 2 types of banners. If you want to travel ultra-light, there's just a straight up banner. It comes in a big old tube, vinyl. You can purchase those from like $20. You just have to know the right sources. And if you have a local print shop in town, they want to print as many banners as you have time for, basically, because vinyl is basically cheap and they can crank them out in less than a day. So the thing about that is that a banner has banner hooks, and you will usually have those provided with your booth already. So you don't have to bring banner hooks with you, though. Kind of a tip, if you bring your own banner hooks, people will love you forever. They'll come to your booth and, hey, can I borrow banner hooks? Yes, absolutely. It's networking. It's good. It's good building. So the thing about that is you can just sort of clip it on top. Now, if you want something a little larger, a little more elaborate, you can do a backdrop. These are usually things in a big old frame with a canvas wrapped around it. These backdrops can be rather pricey. Like I said, if you shop around online, we do not sponsor or anything, but we do the sign guys, I think what they're called. So they have all these sales and everything. Getting a good online plugin like like Honey or Invisible Hand to sort of compare prices is also really, really useful. It's a good tool because online, you go shopping for a banner or anything, it's like, oh, we see a banner service that's going to be $8 cheaper per yard, that you can just sort of do that. And that's wonderful. And then Honey is like, oh, we will automatically apply coupons because we have this large coupon database. Couponing is very important to keeping this whole thing down. Anyway, the thing is that you're going to then want to have a central focus. Now, what we did, and this is appropriate for maybe 35% of you, is our game is cross-platform. That means that you can play it on basically anything when it's finally out. And by that, I mean that day where you bury me with that VHS tape. I will say the stand-up elements of my talk do not do so well when I can't hear literally any of you. So I hope at least one of you is laughing. The thing is that our game can be played on tablets. And if your game can be played on tablets, let me tell you, there is no better tablet for your game to play on than an Amazon Fire tablet. And the reason for an Amazon Fire tablet is actually the same reason for getting what I'm about to suggest for the rest of your equipment. An Amazon Fire tablet normally is like $60, I want to say, on Amazon. I would never ever purchase Fire tablet on Amazon, not out of any particular stance, but just because it's ridiculous. And you're probably thinking, $60 for a tablet, that's absolutely wonderful. Well, here's the thing. Tablets are a frequently lost item in airports. Probably know that. You might have even lost a tablet in an airport yourself. Because of this, what happens is they'll either be confiscated or they'll be lost or anything, and the airport will buy all or will take all of them, and the airport will sell them on eBay for a profit. Because what else are they going to do? You know, they'll occasionally post them online like, oh, we've lost, or you've lost this or whatever, and they'll keep it in their system for a little while. But most airports don't even have an online lost and found system. It's pretty rare when they do. Instead, you know, after 90 days, they take them, they sell them on eBay for like $20. You know, sometimes even less. I have purchased Fire tablets for like $12. It's kind of a shame. But the thing is that a Fire tablet doesn't traditionally run Android. It runs its own proprietary version of Android. You can sideload an APK right on it by just saying allow apps from other sources. Pull up Google Drive, zip it right on it. What this means is if you have gone to an event where there's a whole bunch of iPads, you're looking at every single one of these iPads, and it's like, oh, man, they paid like $8,000 to have all these iPads. You can pay like $70 to have all of these Fire tablets. An additional benefit of that is the fact that they are so cheap that if one breaks, you can easily replace it. And not so much with an iPad. You'll often see children coming up to the booth or picking them up and throwing them about everywhere. But with a Fire tablet, they're basically indestructible. On top of that, they're running Android in the background, so you can use them for all sorts of purposes. Whereas, you know, there's a lot of other issues with potentially running an iPad. However, you can also do that on eBay as well, because that's another frequently lost product that airports have. Well, here's where it gets really cool. So are laptops. Now, I find that having a uniform selection of hardware to play on is probably for the best. But in general, you can just scoop up a whole bunch of laptops for less than $200. You know, you just grab 5 largely identical laptops, overclock them a little bit because they only need to be running for the limited showtime on a floor, load up your game, and there you go. That's sort of the budget side of things. You can also go online on Amazon or any other source and buy just generic aluminum iPad stands. They call them iPad stands, they're just tablet stands. These are some of the most professional looking stands that we've ever seen. We've actually suggested them to several of our colleagues who've started bringing them to shows. They're like $10. They look really, really nice. I suggest if you're going to go the laptop route to go get some cable locks. You can also do the same thing with monitors. However, I personally would never bring a computer monitor to an event. The reason I never bring computer monitors because TVs aren't quite as good as computer monitors. If any of you are PC gamers, I'm pretty sure all of you are, you prefer a monitor because it's just a better way of playing your game. A TV is a perfectly fine way of playing your game if you're just at a convention setting. The lighting at a convention is bad and people are moving in and out and everything. So buy TVs, buy your mice, buy your keyboards used on eBay. And that way you can also usually find bulk listings and you can buy identical looking setups, because it's a really great thing if you have a whole boatload of money and you're like, okay, I have $3,000 to blow in this booth, and all you can buy is like 6 laptops that are all from different manufacturers, and you have all of this different mismatched hardware. Creating the sense that you are put together and have all of these identical units really sticks in the consumer's mind. It's like, oh wow, this is really nice, even if your hardware isn't the most up to date, isn't the most state of the art. And it doesn't have to be, again, because you're wanting something that can take a beating. Now, here's what also gets really cool. Say your video game won't run on a laptop. That's a lot of people's problems. I'm not talking about consoles. Generally speaking, in your contract with a platform, they will tell you, like, oh, you can take the dev kit and everything to events and everything. That's whatever, and that's fine. I'm talking about PCs. If you are running a very intensive game, first off, optimize better, because that's probably your problem. But jokes, okay, jokes. You can actually go online to a computer build called the Potato Masher or the Potato Masher 4K. Budget parts, really good computer, put it in the cheapest black case that you can find in Microsoft. And what you're doing is you're creating a 4K machine for like $300, $400. That is something really, really powerful. You probably only need 2 to 4 of them, depending on what you're actually running at an event. That's still quite a lot of money, but instead of going out and buying a really nice computer, or even worse, bringing your own computer to an event where it can get damaged, kicked, have things spilled on. Yeah, now I know that they're not supposed to bring drinks into the convention center, but they do anyway, you know? That's a thing that you're going to have to worry about. So creating this sort of black box with budget parts that performs well is kind of important, and that's Potato Masher. It was someone's challenge build online a while ago, and it's a really good build for computers, for convention computers. Now, the next thing you can do. So you have your laptops and you have your desktops and you have all of these monitors and everything. Well, what else are you going to do? Well, the first thing is probably sanitize everything. That's kind of a prescient sort of to do now, especially. Go online when the world is not ending and buy bulk hand sanitizer. We once bought a bottle from Costco. It was this massive, massive bottle, and it has lasted us 3 years, and that has been 3 PAXs full of use. Hand sanitizer after every time you have to interact with these objects. Offer hand sanitizer to other people. Do not shake hands. It's been really funny because a lot of people have been doing the elbow bump recently. The elbow bump was a common practice in conventions because you don't want to get the con crud, you know. And now this con crud is a little scarier than before. Buy Clorox wipes. Anytime a group leaves, you don't have to wipe down for every individual, but anytime a group leaves the booth, Clorox wipe your equipment. It's one of the most important things you can do, even before all this. Now, that's fine and good. You have this big, beautiful backdrop. You have this banner. How are you going to get people to come to your booth beyond that? Well, stand up. One of the things that I see all the time is people just sort of taking those chairs that they were provided by the convention center, just sort of sitting behind their booth. We've been guilty of this too in the past. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to stand up and engage with people. Create in this 10 by 10 space that you've been provided a walkable area. Don't put your table all the way up close to the end. Put it back towards the backdrop. You want to create an inviting space that funnels people in. We'll be talking about signage here in a minute. I'm trying to cram in a lot of stuff in what's effectively 45 minutes. But you create a space that funnels people in to a center point. You'd have a person up near the front, a person up near the back if you can afford it. I know some of you are only running these events on one person. So at that point, just sort of stand in the side middle of your booth. Go to, again, your local print shop and get a t-shirt made. A t-shirt with whatever your game is or your logo. Generally speaking, if you go local, you can get them to screen print, like for 20 bucks. A branded t-shirt or a branded polo shirt. Polo shirts are a bit more expensive with all the embroidery and everything, but they are a vital tool for having people remember who you are. The backdrop of the logo, if you have a tablecloth with a logo, if you have a shirt with a logo, it's going to be sticking in mind. Now, some of you are like, well, I'm a very, very small indie. I'm a student. I don't have a logo. Your game has art. Your game probably has a name. You don't have to be an established company to put this branding on. You can be branded out for your game. Now, of course, that's a little limited because then every time you're going to a convention, you have to buy these different things. But I mean, it's honestly worth it. And again, you're not having to break the bank. I know some people who go out online and order these uniforms. It's like, oh, you paid $800 for these uniforms. That is absolutely ridiculous. Just a nice t-shirt. If you have a local print shop, sometimes they will be like, oh, we don't have to provide the t-shirt. You actually went and bought or brought me a t-shirt to print on. I will take off the price of the t-shirt from this print cost. Work local and they will work with you typically. You can also build up a relationship with those print shops so that way they know what you want, you know what they want, and they can also probably do bulk deals in the future where when you go there, be like, oh, I need a convention loadout for all this. And I'm like, oh, well, you're a good customer. I'll give you 10% off that. Why not? Not everyone's so altruistic, but I mean, local print shops like repeat business. And if you are going there often, that's a thing that they tend to reward, especially if they're a really, really small sort of mom and pop shop. So you have someone at the front, you have someone at the back, you funnel them in. Have a great elevator pitch. Memorize the core essence of your game. Like, hey, would you like to play this? Would you like to play Collapsus, a gravity-defying, block-crunching puzzle game like nothing you've ever played before? Come on in here. Get someone, funnel them down. Have a demo mode for your game if you can. I've mentioned this in other talks I've done before, but I assume that all of you are just new people. So what a demo mode basically is a screen that starts the game up, a chunk of the game automatically. It would be best if it was a specific curated experience that lasts a specific amount of time. Collapsus can't do that, for instance. So what we do is we just sort of let people run until they lose, or we have one of our team members be like, oh, no, you're done. But in more of an action adventure kind of a game and more of a slow cerebral puzzle game, have a timed experience, or have it where after a level benchmark, it just says, oh, you've completed the demo. Once you've completed the demo, have it count down the timer. Once it's counted down the timer, it starts it over again. This means that you have to put your hands on your equipment less, and that also means that people can go in and out of the booth more quickly. We've had a huge problem in the past where we've had people who will stay at the booth for 6 hours to play this game. And one of the things that with some of our industry friends, they say it's a good problem to have. It is not, under any circumstances, a good problem to have. Having people at your booth is one of the most wonderful, amazing things. Having people ask engaging questions, having people talk about how much they like the game, give you feedback, those are vital for the game development process, in my opinion. But at the same time, if you have someone who has stayed there longer than they need to get the core essence of your game and say their piece, if they're just standing there in silence, not really adding to the atmosphere, people who are cycling around trying to find a space and be like, oh man, this game looks really long. I don't have time in my convention day to come play this. Or they'll say, oh man, it's kind of the same people. Or even worse, they don't even know it's the same people. And there's like, oh man, this is packed. This really isn't worth my time. Packed is great, but packed only goes so far. If you have a steady flow of people coming in and out, good branding materials, and a really chipper attitude, please smile, even if you have to fake it. Please be nice to these people, even if you have to fake it. I have seen some surly people at booths, and it is not good. But that will draw a crowd. And if you have a lot of people in there, that is a good thing. But these people have to be cycling out, because otherwise you're just, after a certain point, it's just like having like a handful of people there, you know, the entire time. And that doesn't benefit anybody. It doesn't benefit them. Their convention badge is worth more than that. It doesn't benefit you, because you're not getting fresh eyes on your product. Now, beyond that, one of my favorite things that I learned before going to PAX this year is, because what we've done in previous years is we've taken some pictures. Now, very important. In public space, depending on your state, I am not a lawyer. The lawyer was a few talks ago, absolutely wonderful. I am not one of them. Depending on your state, if you are in a public space, you can totally be filmed and pictured without consent. Don't do that. Don't be a jerk. No one wants that. If you're going to snap a picture of your booth, make sure to say, hey, we're trying to get everything for our social media and blog. Would you like to be on picture? Get some good quality pictures. If you can get an old DSLR from eBay, just click away some really nice quality stuff. Or you got a Pixel 4, you know, like hopefully it's good fun. You can take those good pictures there as well. You can use that in your social media. You can use that in your blog. If you start taking some video, you can cut that in your trailer. But the thing I learned is you can actually mount a webcam underneath a demo TV if you have a large multiplayer experience. And then as people are cheering and everything, you can view them, and you can cut into the action. So it's like, oh, show something cool on screen and then cut away to everyone cheering. You're probably thinking, I don't want to go through all this footage to find all these cheering people. What am I going to do? Apparently, and again, I learned this from GDC talk, so I'm ripping this off wholesale. You can look through to see where the cheers are just in your audio channel, and then you can be like, oh, that's where people are loud. That must be the thing I want, which is a really cool thing for you to do. You can also then again have one of your team members, 2 people to a booth usually. If you can afford it, please do shifts. Get people off their feet, especially because again, sitting's kind of bad. Sitting sometimes, depending on the vibe, is like, oh, they're just kind of lazy just sitting around, you know, be a different problem or whatever. But have someone walk around, take some nice shots and video. You don't want it all to be from the same angles. So yeah, but attention is hard to grab. Speaking of TVs, a nice TV topper, and something really like nice and bright and vibrant on the top of your TV if you're doing a larger TV. Just because that's a thing. It's like, oh, what's that? That's the logo. Oh, it's really good. Put some those really cheap like $10 color changing LEDs on the back of your TV. What that does is it creates a contrast between what's behind the TV and the TV itself. It also just attracts people's eyes. You only have a few seconds to get people looking at your booth. So next thing also, buy carpet. If you can help it, some events have carpet, but get some carpet, or you can get those little stacky foam squares and then put them down. But yeah, so a TV topper. I actually put out a question on social media the other day, and no one answered as to what the best materials for a TV topper are. Because I see a lot of devs, what they're doing is they're going to their local print shop, they're printing out a high gloss, and then taking some foam core, putting it on the back, spray gluing, putting it on, and then X-Acto knifing out. That is not, in my opinion, the best way to do it. I don't know what is, but I've seen some really killer TV toppers, and I know for sure that they are not foam core. However, if anyone knows some good TV toppers, please share that with the community. But no, a TV topper is really good because it creates a clean, professional look. People no longer see just a big black box on a stand. What they're seeing is, oh, this is a branded item. So that leads me into the next thing. because again, time management is weird, especially when you're in a concrete box. So travel. Again, like I said before, I've gone to a lot of conventions where these really, really big companies are shipping all of their stuff to the convention center ahead of time. Now, first off, you have to pay a shipping company. Second off, you have to pay the convention extra for that usually. Third off, you have to pay event crew to come out and like assemble things before the show starts, because one of the whole benefits of that is to be there, not necessarily on setup day, if that's something your event allows. That is a lot of money and that is a lot of work. And let me tell you, as someone who has been in a car, 14-hour drives up to Boston, it's not fun to be in a Jeep with a bunch of gear. But not everything you do for games is fun. And little 20 questions, that's great, because the problem isn't being in the vehicle. The problem is mostly the 14-hour ride, you know what I'm saying? So the thing is, though, that what you need to do is you need to break everything down to its barest, most professional essentials. Some people who've seen us at events know that we like to travel with milk crates. So a milk crate is a wonderful thing because milk crates stack. So what this means is you can get a flat dolly, one that folds completely flat, that's right in your trunk, and then 5 or 6 milk crates. Back when we did our first smaller booths, we did 2 milk crates, and so you take these milk crates and put them up on there, and there you go. That's really easy with tablets. Tablets stack. You put a piece of foam between each one of them so the screens don't crack. By the way, please get screen protectors. You got a laptop, get a screen protector. You got a TV, get a big screen protector if they make them that size. You have a tablet, absolutely get a glass screen protector, preferably one that says, "Hey, if the screen protector breaks, we will buy you a new tablet." That's very important. You wouldn't believe the amount of tablets that have broken at these events, but again, they're like $12, so it's fine. So pack them up, put them in a milk crate, fold all of your little stands together, put them in there. Take your tablecloth. Now, here's the thing for traveling light. If you're gonna go big and extravagant, you do not need to pay the extra money for a wrinkle-resistant tablecloth. If you are traveling light and traveling on a budget, pay the $10 extra for wrinkle-free. Because basically what you can do is you can just fold it, shove it in the thing, and when it comes out, there you go. I also take a travel iron with me. I know that seems really, really weird because you're like, well, Jay, just sit here saving on the space, it's an iron. You can get an iron that folds flat. There are tons of travel irons. You can just find them in Meijer or Amazon or wherever you do your shopping. Tons of travel irons just for your tablecloth, for your uniforms, whatever you have. A standy banner zips on down. It rolls into a long tube. Larger TV stands, professional quality TV stands, roll down. You can dismantle them and they go into small tubes. These giant backdrops, small tubes. Generally speaking, you don't need to bring your own table, but you should go and look on the convention website as to whether or not a table is provided. Generally speaking, you don't need your own chairs. However, from an accessibility standpoint, I like to bring some sort of seating. You may want to Google PAX exhibitor secret weapon stools. We read an article a few years ago about these wonderful like $12 stools that can hold up like 500 pounds. We did those for a few years at different conventions. They fold super flat. They're really, really small. They're really, really nice. If you have a giant TV, strap it to your roof. You don't generally need a giant TV to present a good game though. Keep things that are square. Don't keep things that are bulky. Keep your boards flat packed. Keep all of your business cards together in their original box. It will all fit, but you need pre-planning. You need to know the dimensions of things. You need to buy things with dimensionality in mind. You need to say, okay, I know what I'm going to be putting in these. I know why I'm doing that. And that's what you do. Cord management is super important. Bundle up your cables, get them as small as you can, put them in a bag with a label on them, bring a few extras as well, and then stack them in a way where you're like, okay, I know what dimension they take up while stacked. Literally, Go with a measuring tape when you're doing this. Keep notes when you go to an event. Keep out your phone, pull it up, write it down. Now, I will say, as far as phones are concerned, if you have an additional tablet, or if you have a computer, or even your phone, go to MailChimp or another service like it. Get people's information at the booth. Say like, oh, we're signing up for a mailing list, you know, to let you know when the game comes out. That's vital, honestly. But yeah, so I'm trying to get this done so I can answer as many questions as possible. So that was a bit of a lightning round. But the thing is that, generally speaking, when people's primary approach to booth design is, we need X, we have Y budget. And the thing is that when it comes to the amount that you're going to be saving on flights, saving on shipping, and things like that, you have to factor that into your budget. And you have to say to yourself, okay, can I pay slightly more for this, for something of the dimensions that I need in order to be able to not afford a flight so I can drive down, or so that makes setup time easier, so that I then have more time to go do things, because your health and the speed at which you can set up and the reduced stress is honestly worth a little bit extra. But you also don't need to go breaking the bank. You can buy used. You can go and, again, look at where professional people are buying these things. Do you think that universities, when they want a TV stand, are paying, you know, market value? No, they're not even a little. Look for wholesalers. Look for used. Look for things that you can put in a vehicle that look good, that are unified in aesthetic. Pre-planning is everything. And you'll find that your booth is going to evolve. You'll find that how you do things is going to evolve. You'll find that there are different things that work for you. Last, I guess, before I start answering questions, I hope this is the appropriate time, because I'm looking at when I looked at the schedule before. Bring plenty of water. Try to bring a rug, because again, it gets really bad on your feet. Bring lozenges. Lozenges are way more important than you think you realize. And again, bring water. You can't live on energy drinks alone. But with that, I'm going to start answering questions now, if that's all right with everyone else. Yes, good.
Okay, so someone suggested that you should let them know when Collapsus is coming out.
I will. If you want to know when Collapsus is coming out, you can go to our social media at Wraith Games, or you can follow our website and sign up for a mailing list.
Yeah.
Other than that, sure.
Admiral Octavius said, with the Fire tablets, what if you're making a more phone-centric UI game or a more intensive game?
A more phone-centric UI? To elaborate, you mean something that's for a smaller form factor?
I'm gonna guess something for more of like a slimmer UI, because I think a Fire tablet has more of that iPad. I'm gonna guess that's what they're basing it off of.
They kind of changed them around a little bit. Well, one of the cool things you can do for that, and it doesn't help with this new aspect ratio standard on phones, because again, Pixel 4 is really weird. But you can also buy just cheaper phones. Go buy a Samsung Galaxy S6, because they're nothing. Just buy a bulk of those. However, they do make a 6-inch Fire tablet. I believe it's 6-inch. So it's a much smaller form factor. But again, if you want that phone aspect ratio, definitely just buy a bulk phones. However, try to dynamically scale your UI, because that helps with people with a whole bunch of different resolutions, especially because phone resolution standards are changing. So if you can have something dynamically scaling, that's usually better, and then you can play it on whatever.
They confirmed it was form factor.
Okay.
Mild Mojo says Coroplast or corrugated plastic might be easier to cut than foam core. You can also get foam core with black foam, which makes for nicer edges.
So we are
to answer your what do they make for those TV toppers, maybe also mat board. This is coming from mat board's coming from me.
So as far as we are using black foam core currently, we have had extensive debates at the studio about Coroplast. Our art director would love you for saying that comment. Mat board? Can you please email me that? Because I have no clue what that is.
Okay, mat board is what you use if you're it's like, so you know you put photographs, they're matted.
Yeah.
So mat board, you can buy it from like a supply stores for like photographs for like a Michaels or a Hobby Lobby.
I actually have some like right in that thing I drew.
Yeah, so they make it, they sell it in big sheets. But you can usually get discount versions of it because somebody will get like an offcut or they'll have it in a weird color. But you can also try that. That might work.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I have actually looked up that question too, and I have not found an answer.
Yeah, no one's talking about it. Everyone has TV toppers, and no one's talking about how they're made.
I think the answer is that there isn't a. I also contacted our local person who does like all our printables, and they didn't have an answer.
My print shop doesn't even know what a TV topper is.
Yeah, that was the same thing our local print shop said. They were both like, I'm sorry, what? Could you, what? So I think in some cases, some of that stuff is just not standardized.
Yeah.
Sorry for the gossip sesh, but how do you choose which events to go to? You mentioned you go to 14 a year.
15.
Sorry, 15.
Sorry, I'm just very, very proud of that. So what we do is, and I will say for the record, this year was supposed to be our year transitioning to large events only. It was going to be all the PAXs and E3 and all that, and it's not happening.
Yeah.
However, one of the things that we like to do, especially when building up a community, is try to find events that are not close to us, and then try to find events that are close to us. Try to also do a mixture of big and small events. One of the things you can do is go on to different game developer message boards. You can go on to Reddit. You can go on to follow different game developers on Twitter. There are tons of great Discord channels. Also, if you happen to have a local meetup group, you know, like if you're in Kentucky, I know RunJumpDev is wonderful. We have the IGDA Cincinnati up here, COG a little up north. Go to these meetings and talk to the developers. See what is really good for them. I will say I get the what event to go to question a lot, and I have on average about 3 emails a month of someone saying, I see you at everything. How do I decide where to go? And I have a list. Like I have this big list where I'm like, you can go here, but the answer is find like just Google events and then find ones that fit your personal needs, because everyone's company's needs are different. But at the same time, if you can afford it, PAX is awesome. It's also like $6,000 a trip, and it's like killing me. Like, it's crazy. Gotta ship this game, yo.
How do you handle press at the booth? Do you make appointments?
Oh, yes. Okay. So press. Oh, man. I love talking about press. So one of the things that we try to do is we try to have, okay, slowing down. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. A lot of events, a lot of bigger events especially, will have a press list. They will say, oh, man, you're coming to this event. Here's this list of people you can contact. Then you contact people based off of what you perceive their interest is to you. Don't bulk email everybody and be like, oh, you should come to this, here's this thing. No, make a nice personal email. Don't kiss up or anything, you know, that no one likes that. But be like, oh, actually, I saw that you do stuff on puzzle games. We'd love to have you come down. Or, oh, we saw that you do games on queer themes. Like, it'd be wonderful if you came to our booth. Things like that. And so make an appointment, and then if they don't respond in like 3 days, follow up with them. If they don't respond after that, give up, honestly. Maybe if you have like a week right before the event, reach out one more time. Don't be blasting people's DMs and stuff like that, but you know, make a nice eye-catching but relevant header, relevant content in the body of the email, and say, this is what our booth number is, this is the contact information, here's a link to our press kit. So you have an online press kit, hopefully. Presskit.do, I believe, is the big one. It's the one Rami made.
Yeah, the do press kit one.
Yes, yeah, that one. It's absolutely wonderful. So have a press kit online, but also link into the body of the email your trailer as well, because they may not even open the press kit. Try to have a PDF version of the press kit that you can upload as well into the attachments, and a few relevant pictures. Not everything that would normally be in your press kit, but still something that's eye-catching. Sometimes you can get away with putting a GIF in the body of the email, which is really cool. Then you go to an email spam checker. Just Google email spam checker. It'll be a thing where it's just like, email this address and we'll let you know if you're spam. So you zoop that out and like, oh, it's not spam, send it to the person. You know, be friendly, but also be professional.
Yeah.
There's a really fine line to walk. You don't want to be a robot. You don't want to be super corporate, but also you don't want to be so chill as to be off-putting. So yeah, but press appointments, if you can manage them, are great. Go and look at the hashtag if you have not received a press kit or a press list of any sort. Go to the hashtag for your event, and oftentimes you will see people like, oh, we're press at this event, you know, or just search the name of your event on your relevant social media. And that way you can be like, okay, this is them. I'm going to go to their website, and then I'm going to go find their contact information and email them asking about it. Or if their DMs are open, specifically, they're specifically open. Don't.
They're specifically open for that event.
Yeah. But as far as like managing press once they get there, we allow people who are press to come in even if we don't have a specific appointment with them. So what we try to do is we try to like cordon off a section. We're actually getting stanchions because we've had a problem with organization, because there'll be people like bumping into the press people. I may or may not have destroyed a Polygon interview because someone may or may not have accidentally tackled the reporter. That was neat. We don't know how that's going to go. But yes, stanchions. Don't shut down your booth entirely, but make it where they can hear you, make it where they can take good notes, answer their questions, but also try to get the information that you want to give them out. And then once the event's over, follow up with them. That's really important, because sometimes they just forget. These events are really busy and they have lives and stuff. So yeah, press question.
Admiral Octavia said, what about carts like the expandable ones for moving gear to the booth?
Okay, so I am more of a fan of flat pack dollies. You can get these flat pack dollies that also become like, they can be either a bed, so it's 4 wheels, or like a machine dolly, so it's like flat and it has a thing, but it just folds really, really flat. My problem with a traditional like grocery cart is the fact that it's huge. You can't fit that anywhere. But if you go to like Harbor Freight or Menards or something, oh my God, I hope you guys have Harbor Freight and Menards.
We have a Harbor Freight in Kentucky. Harbor Freight is a Kentucky thing.
My problem is, I know that the person asking the questions from West Virginia.
Yes. So I can't answer that.
I have no clue if you Harbor Freight or Menards, but somewhere you can get great flat pack dollies, absolutely wonderful. But don't get a traditional cart unless it's what you have. Sometimes what you have is the best thing. But yeah, try to keep it light, try to keep it cheap, try to keep it durable.
Let's see. Admiral Octavia said, how do you feel about games like AltGDC or other games that do really weird UI interfaces that make the IRL experience unique?
I think those events aren't just those types of games are vital to go to events. I think that everyone's game should be at an event. But I think if you have something weird and experimental, then it is your imperative to go to an event. You owe it to you, and you owe it to your players, and you want to make the coolest thing possible. But at the same time, make a weird booth. You're gonna have a weird game. Make a weird booth. I hope that answers that. Mostly because I'm dumb, but
it's a different experience making an alt control booth.
yeah,
That's a whole other talk.
You should do that talk.
Maybe. Mild Mojo said, how do you deliver audio from your game to the player in a convention booth setting?
So one of the cool things you can do, so I personally don't, just because like music is a very important part of Collapsus, but when you have 10 tablets per booth and then a giant TV with multiplayer, I muted that phone. A giant TV with multiplayer, you're just not going to be able to present a satisfying experience. Collapsus, you're also moving the tablet around. However, go and buy some like $12 over-the-ear headphones. They don't have to be perfect, but it's something. And then get those really, really cheap hangers. They make these little hangers that clip onto the table, and you just put your headphones right there. For our next game, which is going to be all on switches, it's vital. That's individual headphones. Also,
based also on that, I would also quick thing. People are really weird about over-the-ear headphones and that stuff, and you really need to bring like a lot of like disinfectant wipes for that. People are super weird about that.
Here's where it gets even better, because this is what I was about to say. So
okay,
of course
sorry.
you need all your disinfectant, but they make little paper covers for them.
They do.
You can get a whole big box of these little paper covers that go over the headphones, and it eases a lot of anxiety. They do, from what I've seen, nothing, but they make people feel like they do. So put them on, and then when you take them off, wipe them down.
This has been the bane of one of the audio designers we work with, Too Mellow. This has been the bane of his existence for years, is that convention goers can't listen to audio, and they won't wear headphones, but they'll touch a controller.
Yeah, which is way grosser. Let's be real.
I don't understand. I have one last question, and that is before we wrap up, which is how do you schedule, if you have more than one person, how do you schedule people to cover the event?
Okay, so Wraith Games specifically has what we call the event team. We are very fortunate that we have 12 people working with us. I don't say for us, we're Games Collective, so we're random people who are all awesome. But the events team are that specific group of people who are just extroverted enough where they actually want to go to an event. If everyone you have is an introvert, try to assign people. It doesn't always work, but you want the most passionate people there if possible. If everyone's an extrovert and everyone wants to go to the event, just take some time to experiment with who's good and who isn't, who is a good listener, who's good at presenting, who has a good stage voice, someone who can memorize the features of the game, who can memorize the elevator pitch well. Sometimes having that person be aesthetically pleasing is also good. I'm not even talking about necessarily like really, really beautiful people, but something, like interesting or eye-catching. So yeah, it can be hard, but in my experience, more people than not are like, no, I'm not going to an event, than people who are like, oh no, I want to go.
Pick me coach. The pick me coach kind of people.
Yeah, those I don't think those people exist. But
okay.
But if they do, just try to see if they're good for the job, and if you don't think they're good for the job, then let them that easy.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us, Jay, and for giving this talk. I know you wanted to give 4 talks, but alas, the schedule would only allow you to give 1.
I had a bit of an emergency last night, and so I come into this on 4 hours of sleep because of the emergency I had to quelch, and so I'm glad for once. Like normally I'm like, give me as many talks as you can, but I am glad for once that I'm given this one talk, and I just hope that it was a good talk and that everyone
It was
enjoyed.
excellent. If you'd like to join us in the Twitch chat, you're welcome to. But if not, where can people find you? Irregardless, where can people find you?
So you can. Big thing. The pinned tweet on my personal Twitter says, "Don't follow me." Because I'm a weirdo and not in a good way, and no one wants to hear anything that I have to say on my personal Twitter. However, I am one of the primary people who tweet for Wraith Games. That's at WRAITHGAMES. You can find us on Facebook, which we are very inactive on because Facebook is bad for indie devs and in general. We apparently have a subreddit now, which is really cool, which is r/Wraith Games. I'm not managing that, so that's a thing. You can find us on Instagram as well at Wraith Games, and then of course wraithgames.com, which we have a new URL that goes to the same place, which is wraith.games, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's the thing.